Hello everyone, this is Michelle. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you like my videos. Today's video is obviously in English, and since you've read the title and selected the video, you will know that I'm gonna be talking about the movie Morbius. I'm gonna be giving my opinion on it. I'm gonna be sharing some thoughts. And first off, I would like to start by saying that I liked it, and I liked it as a vampire film, all right? Not as a Marvel movie, but as a vampire flick, okay? So, what is Morbius? Because we're kind of running out of time to talk about Morbius, right? Since Doctor Strange 2 has come out, and I gotta go see that one and get back here and talk about it. So we're running out of time to talk about Morbius, right? So what is it? It is a Sony film about a Marvel comic book character by the name Morbius, who just so happens to be an anti-hero, okay? And in this film that came out in 2022, Morbius was portrayed by Jared Leto, and he had a brother that was portrayed by Matt Smith, and he had a love interest that was portrayed by Adria Arjona, and a father figure portrayed by Jared Harris, okay? And there were the two cops that were like kind of an alternate story, kind of involved cops onto something story who in the end don't really do much, but they were portrayed by Tyrese Gibson and by Al Madrigal. Good performances. Adria and Jared Harris, they acted really good. I liked Adria's character a lot, but Jared Leto and Matt Smith, they take the cake. Two very good actors doing great performances overall, playing the hero in the case of Jared Leto, or the anti-hero, and the antagonist, or the bad guy in the case of Matt Smith. They started off as almost brothers, they only weren't related by blood, even though that's relatable. That's debatable. Blood related them in a way, since they both had a blood-based disease, right? And that's kind of the plot of the story. Matt's character grows to be a wealthy entrepreneur. He was already wealthy. He inherited from his parents who died and left him as a child with that disease, and he grew up to be a wealthier entrepreneur who invested in a lot of businesses. And Jared Leto grew to be a famous, renowned scientist specialized in blood diseases, specifically in the one that he and Matt's character had. Dr. Morbius was trying to cure them both and people like them who shared their disease. So then he goes to Costa Rica, to Cerro del Muerto, to find some vampire bats that he can collect so that he can study them and why their biology evolved so that they can live off of blood. So maybe fusing their genetics with his, he can hopefully cure his disease and his brother's disease and help other people, right? Sounds simple enough, but things don't go that way. They didn't go down easy. So he turns into a vampire, all right, in a cruise ship where he was making the experiment, and he kills a bunch of mercenaries, and in the process he saves his love interest, Adria Arjona, all right? So then he comes back, and there's this police investigation going on. So his brother, Matt's character, gets suspicious. So he goes, pays him a visit, and Morbius is like, oh my god, he's he's now super jacked. He doesn't need his crutches to walk. He's in peak physical form. His brother wants to follow his steps. He wants to take whatever he took, whatever cure he took to become like him. And so Morbius gets pissed off, and he tells him, you don't want to be like me, I killed people, now I drink blood, blah blah blah. And Matt's character is like, I don't care, bro. So Morbius takes off, and Matt's character steals a vial, a very obvious vial that was obvious that had to do with the cure. So he takes it, he injects it, and he becomes a vampire through comic science as well. Okay, and then they fight because Matt's character turns evil, and Morbius wants to keep being good. He doesn't want to kill any lives, and Matt doesn't care that he has to take lives now, so they enter into conflict. And to make the story short, Matt ends up dead, and Adria turns into a vampire because Jared Leto saves her. Okay, so that's basically the movie. And in the post-credit scenes, he meets with Michael Keaton's Vulture, and therefore he gets connected to the Marvel Universe and to Spider-Man and so on. Okay, so now that's the story of Morbius. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the review and to explain some things and to explore some things. Okay, so this movie has a score of 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb and has a rating of 17% out of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of baffling to me that it did so bad, because in my opinion it's not a bad movie. Yes, it may be fast paced, in some directing decisions may have been rushed, but other than that, the story was good, the acting was great, and the special effects were really good. Okay, so the only thing that I could criticize would be the pacing of some scenes. Some scenes that should be shorter are really dragged out, and some scenes that should have more exposition and more dialogue are really short. Okay, so that's the only thing I would criticize. So I don't see why 17% rotten, and I don't see why 5.1 on IMDb. But the thing is, the many complaints that I've heard from people complaining about this movie is that it's not a Marvel film, so how can you staple the Marvel name onto it if it's not going to be a real Marvel film, and blah blah blah, and it is bad because Marvel. Okay, so that's like kind of the main argument. Okay, so what I'm here to tell you is that if it wasn't for the fact that the Vulture was there, and if it wasn't for the fact that Morbius is a comic book character from Marvel, there would be no way to link this movie in any way, shape, or form to Marvel. Okay, because this movie stuck to what it is. It is a vampire flick, and it knows it is a vampire film. Okay, and it works. It really works as a vampire film, like the Blade movies did when they came out. Okay, and that is why I like the movie, because I like vampires as mythological creatures, and I really enjoy vampire films, and vampire series and all of that. So I think it works as a vampire film. All right. So now let's talk about maybe a valid question. That now that we've established that it's not a Marvel film, that it's a vampire flick, and that it shouldn't have gotten all the flack that it copped. But okay. Now let's talk about a valid question, a valid criticism. Okay. So why, if Morbius turned into a vampire, does he not burn in the sun? Why doesn't he die, when he's touched by sunlight? And to that, I have a theory that maybe I can prove, so I'm going to explain it to you, okay? So he turned into a vampire through scientific means, albeit comic science, but he didn't turn into a vampire by having vampirism transmitted to him by a vampire bite given to him by another vampire, So in the Marvel universe, there are other vampires. Dracula is in the vampire universe, okay? And the vampire curse is a thing. You cannot walk into the sunlight, you have the hunger and everything, But specifically the sunlight part, all right? So since he did not become a vampire, being bitten by a vampire, he doesn't have the curse, because the curse wasn't transmitted, because instead he turned through scientific means into a vampire. So as I said, as a proof of this, there is Dracula in the Marvel universe, in the Marvel comics, and he can burn in the sunlight, all right? Because he has a curse, and other vampires like him that had the curse transmitted through a vampire bite, they too burn in the sun. And therefore, we also have the example of Blade, all right, who was the product of a union between a vampire and a non-vampire. So he was born with some of the strengths of being a vampire, but he was a daywalker because he did not have the curse of the sun. And we have already seen Blade in film, and he is in effect a daywalker, okay? But the curse is a thing, and other vampires in the Marvel universe do burn in the sun, except Morbius was not turned a vampire by another vampire, all right? He turned himself and his brother and his love interest into vampires through scientific means. Okay, no. He didn't turn Adria through scientific means. He beat her, alright? So maybe if there's another Morbius films, or if we see Adria's character again, maybe she's going to be vulnerable to the sun because she became a vampire through a bite. We don't know that, alright? But okay, people, that's all I've got for you for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. I am Michelle. I love talking to you guys. See you tomorrow for another video. Let me know if you want more videos in English or in Spanish. I'm still gonna do them both. But that is all for today. Morbius isn't a bad movie. It is a good vampire movie, alright? Don't see it as a Marvel movie, alright? And maybe soon I'll be talking to you about Doctor Strange. But till then, see you next time.